the Savage Nation. We're playing Ted Nugent's Cat Scratch Fever because Ted Nugent wrote a review of Trickle Up Poverty published today in the Washington Times that I love. At least he has the guts to stand up for what he believes in and not say, oh, if I write this, perhaps Mr. Pastrami won't let me on his show. So I'm going to read it to you. A savage display of conservative intellectual firepower by Ted Nugent. And here's what he says. If Dirty Harry wrote books instead of blowing away bad guys, he would have written Trickle Up Poverty. Thankfully, Michael Savage wrote it instead. Instead of wielding a .44 Magnum Smith & Wesson and cleaning up the streets of San Francisco like Dirty Harry, Mr. Savage banged away on the keyboard with magnum force and wrote a conservative magnum manifesto in Trickle Up Poverty. While relaxing in my deer blind waiting to put an arrow through the pump station of an ultra-alert Texas white-tailed deer, I read Mr. Savage's new book. Instead of my predator eyes scanning the Texas brush for the slightest hint of movement, I found myself focused instead of Mr. Savage's dead-eye truth and common-sense words. This may have been the very first time in my hunting life that my predator attention was focused completely on something other than grocery shopping for a white-tailed deer. Many of us know Mr. Savage as the irrepressible, intelligent, and highly entertaining AM radio talk show Tour de Force. His radio program is the antidote for all things politically correct, status quo, brain dead, and anti-freedom. Mr. Savage's no-holds-barred radio speech got him banned from entering the UK after some liberal, limey, socialist bureaucrat claims Savage is a provocateur of hate speech. Addicted to free speech and logic, Winston Churchill would have fired the limey bureaucrat and recommended that the Queen make Mr. Savage a knight. In typical left-wing slash-and-burn politics, liberal goons can't stand an opposing argument and self-evident truth, which is why they resort to squawking about how conservatives are racist, homophobic, and the standard whining when no sound argument can be offered. I'm reading again from Ted Nugent's review of Trickle Up Poverty in today's Washington Times. Mr. Savage crushes these numbskulls in an avalanche of historical references, conservative ideology, and common sense. The truth contained in Trickle Up Poverty could ultimately set them free, or they can cling to their liberal bias and blindness and remain shackled and enslaved in their hopeless denial. Who needs Comedy Central when the parade of clowns just won't go away? Trickle Up Poverty is a blazing flamethrower of truth that burns through subjects such as how President Obama's policies are crushing the middle class, the societal suicide of open borders and illegal immigration, the curse of Acorn, czars, the healthcare fraud, and other such America-destroying horror stories. Written in a passionate, full-auto style and painstakingly researched, each chapter will arm you with a stockpile of intellectual ammo. Michael Savage swings a literary crowbar of truth and writes with a sledgehammer style. This is very good. This is like Walter Winchell. He pulls no punches and goes right for the jugular with facts, not vacuous hyperbole like hope and change. Mr. Savage is my kind of radio host and my kind of writer. I crave all things bold, unapologetic, defiant, witty, and smart. Trickle Up Poverty satisfies my cravings, and then some. Read it and then dance naked around the campfire of truth. If anything, Trickle Up Poverty exposes the radical Marxist governing abuses and ideologies of the Obamacrats. Mr. Savage not only exposes how the Marxists in power are doing their best to destroy America, but offers antidotes to their intentional ultra-destructo Saul Alinsky playbook with pragmatic common-sense solutions that would cause our forefathers to nod proudly in agreement. Mr. Savage is their kind of patriot. Mr. Obama and his army of Fedzillocrats, not so much. One of my jobs is to cause liberal loons to thrash about in uncontrollable anger. Trickle Up Poverty will cause idiots, commies, socialists, Fedzillocrats, and various left-wing apologists and assorted bloodsuckers to overheat instantly and then spontaneously combust. Burn, baby, burn. Trickle Up Poverty is intellectual ammunition. Lock and load. Every American who wishes to return to the great American way should read this book and gift it to everybody he cares about. Ted, thank you. I'm sending this on to Matt Drudge. We'll see if it makes it equal to the hemorrhoids' latest medical tests. 1-800-449-8. Okay, well, if you think that that's something I should do. It seems to work for him. I don't understand how this works. It's embarrassing. What kind of man would share medical tests on a regular basis with an audience? My father taught me, you don't display this part of yourself. When he got a heart attack, he crawled in the back of a store and died. He didn't even want to show his weakness. That's the kind of family I come from. You can say what you want about it. The first one, okay, he got, saved. A number of years later, the second one hit. He crawled in the back of a store and laid down and died. It ripped my heart out when I heard about it. I was 6,000 miles away. He didn't even cry out. It was over. He figured God was calling him, or destiny was calling him, or atheism was whatever. He didn't cry like a baby. He didn't scream, "Oh, help me." He didn't ask for the X-rays to be put on his radio show. What kind of man does a thing like this? I'm getting sick of this. I don't even understand it anymore, what kind of people listen or watch these shows where a guy would do things over and over again. So if Obama continues in power, a love for America and patriotism itself is liable to be declared an illness, as it was in the ex-Soviet Union in reverse. You may not know this, but things have gotten so bad under Stalin that anybody who criticized the Soviet government was declared mentally ill. And they were put into concentration camps, and they were experimented upon by corrupt medical doctors, psychiatrists, who said, yes, anyone who doesn't see the glories of the Soviet state is mentally ill and in need treatment. And they were put into prison hospitals. You don't know what the psychiatrists are capable of in any society. They've been drugging you to death your whole life. They've been drugging your children to death since they've been born with Ritalin and then other drugs. You yourself are probably on drugs. They're drugging our troops now. 1 out of 5 troops is on a psychiatric drug. How many of our people in Congress are drugged? How many of these dolts, these corrupt dolts, are drugged up on some kind of psychiatric drug, which would explain their numbness and their lack of ability to understand that people hate their guts? I'll be right back.
Savage. I wonder who rocked the book.